The unseen war. What if I told you that silence is not weakness, but the sharpest weapon you own? Most people think power comes from being loud, visible, always speaking, always proving themselves. But Machiavelli saw through that illusion 500 years ago. He understood a darker truth. The more you reveal, the easier you are to control. Think about it. Every time you rush to explain yourself, you hand over information. Every time you defend yourself, you confirm a weakness. Every time you show exactly what you want, you give your opponent the map to destroy you. Silence terrifies people because it forces them into the unknown, and humans fear the unknown more than anything. Machiavelli's warning. In The Prince, Machiavelli wrote that rulers must learn to be both the lion and the fox. The lion, because force is sometimes necessary. The fox, because cunning and concealment are what keep you alive when strength alone is not enough. The fox doesn't roar. It doesn't announce its moves. It waits. It observes. It strikes at the perfect moment. Ask yourself, are you living as the lion that wastes energy roaring at every challenge, or the fox that quietly outsmarts the entire forest? The hidden war around you. This isn't theory. Look around your life. At work, someone takes credit for your ideas. Do you argue loudly in the meeting, or do you wait, collect proof, and dismantle them when the moment is right? In relationships, someone tests you with guilt. Do you rush to defend yourself? Or do you stay calm, silent, watching them reveal their own insecurity? Online, people bait you into arguments. Do you type furiously, wasting your energy, or do you let them shout into the void while you keep your focus intact? Silence is not passivity. Silence is control. Silence forces the other side to burn themselves out while you conserve your strength. Why silence feels uncomfortable? Let's be honest, silence feels awkward because we've been trained to fill it. From childhood, we're taught to explain, to justify, to answer every question immediately. We think silence makes us look weak, stupid, or guilty. But Machiavelli would laugh at that belief. He knew that people reveal themselves when faced with silence. They keep talking, they keep explaining, they overexpose, and while they bleed information, the one who stays silent becomes stronger. Next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, stop. Next time you want to fill the silence, hold it instead. Watch how the other person starts scrambling. Watch how they reveal everything while you reveal nothing. The psychological battlefield. This is the unseen war you walk through every day. You think conversations are casual. You think arguments are about who's right or wrong. You think relationships are built only on honesty and openness. Wrong. Every interaction is a battle for control. Every question is a probe. Every reaction is data. And the person who controls the flow of words controls the battlefield. That's why Machiavelli's philosophy is not outdated. It's more relevant than ever. Because in a world that demands constant exposure, the rare person who withholds becomes magnetic. The loud blend into the noise. The silent command attention. A story of two leaders. History gives us countless examples. Imagine two leaders. The first is loud, emotional, always explaining himself, always rushing to justify his decisions. The second says little, keeps his plans hidden, and speaks only when it matters most. Which one would you follow? Which one would you fear? The first becomes predictable, easy to manipulate, easy to topple. The second becomes mysterious, commanding respect, even in silence. That's why Machiavelli advised rulers never to reveal their true intentions, because once people know your plan, they can stop it. But when they don't know, they hesitate, they stumble, and in that hesitation, your power grows. Modern application. You don't have to be a prince to use this. In fact, the more ordinary your life seems, the more powerful silence becomes. In job interviews, when asked a tricky question, don't rush to fill the air. Pause, smile, Answer slowly. Your silence shows confidence. In arguments, don't defend every accusation. Ask one sharp question, then stay quiet. Let them overtalk. Your silence exposes their weakness. In relationships, don't always be the one explaining how you feel. Sometimes, let mystery do the work. People value what they can't fully grasp. The less predictable you are, the more others must respect you. The first challenge. So here's your first challenge. Stop seeing silence as empty. Start seeing it as a weapon. This week, in your next conversation, practice restraint. Hold back one thing you would normally reveal. Delay one answer you would normally rush to give. Sit in the silence and watch how others react. You'll notice something shocking. People will talk more, reveal more, and chase harder to fill the gap you left. That's the Machiavellian shift from being predictable prey to becoming unreadable power. But silence is just the beginning. It's the foundation, because once you master silence, you're ready for the next layer of Machiavellian strategy, the art of masks. Because here's the dark truth: if people can read you, they can destroy you. Masks and Manipulation. Machiavelli once wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few know what you really are." Those words should echo in your mind every time you step into a room, log into social media, or even look in the mirror. Because here is the brutal truth. In life, people don't reward who you really are. They reward the mask you show them. The danger of being transparent. You've probably been told your whole life to just be yourself. It sounds noble, liberating, even romantic. But in Machiavelli's world, the real world, pure transparency is suicide. Why? Because when people can read you, they can control you. If they know you crave approval, they'll feed you compliments until you're obedient. If they know you fear rejection, they'll dangle abandonment to keep you on a leash. If they know you get angry easily, they'll provoke you until you self-destruct. When you're an open book, you're not free. You're a manual. A manual manipulators can read, exploit, and weaponize against you. The power of the mask. That's why Machiavelli taught that rulers must wear masks, not to lie for fun, not to deceive for cruelty, but to survive. Your mask is your armor. It's the version of you that the world sees, polished, controlled, and designed with purpose. Consider this. In business, you may wear the mask of confidence, even when you're unsure, because hesitation kills opportunity. In relationships, you may wear the mask of indifference, even when you're hurt, because showing pain gives the other person leverage. In negotiations, you may wear the mask of patience, even when you're eager, because eagerness makes you cheap. The mask isn't fake, it's strategic. It's the difference between being played and playing the game. The social media arena nowhere is this more obvious than online. Social media is a battlefield of masks. Nobody shows their failures. Nobody reveals their deepest fears. They show curated victories, filtered beauty, staged happiness. And while you might roll your eyes at this, remember, it works. People believe appearances more than reality. Machiavelli himself admitted, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand." The question is not whether masks exist. It's whether you'll craft yours consciously or let others craft it for you. Historical proof. Look at history's most feared leaders. Julius Caesar projected mercy even while plotting conquest. Napoleon projected destiny even when cornered. Cesare Borgia, Machiavelli's great example, wore the mask of loyalty until the moment loyalty no longer served him. They were not saints. They were not fools. They were tacticians who understood this. Control the mask, control the perception. Control the perception, control the world. The mask in daily life. Think about the times you failed, not because you were weak, but because you revealed too much. Maybe you confessed too much interest in someone too soon and they lost respect. Maybe you admitted doubt in front of a rival and they sensed blood in the water. Maybe you showed anger in a meeting and your opponent used it to paint you as unstable. These weren't failures of truth. They were failures of strategy. Now imagine instead, you reveal interest slowly, with mystery, keeping the other person chasing. You admit nothing in front of rivals, projecting unshakable confidence. You show calm in meetings, letting others lose control while you stay steady. That's the difference the mask makes. The fear of hypocrisy. At this point, some will protest. But isn't wearing a mask dishonest? Isn't it hypocrisy? Machiavelli would laugh. He would remind you that everyone already wears masks. The only difference is that some wear them strategically while others wear them unconsciously and poorly. Every time you speak differently to your boss than to your best friend, you're wearing a mask. Every time you hide irritation to keep the peace, you're wearing a mask. Every time you post your best picture online instead of your worst, you're wearing a mask. The question isn't whether you'll wear one. The question is, will you choose the mask or will you let others choose it for you? The mask of silence. Remember the silence we discussed earlier? Silence itself is a mask. It projects calm when you may be boiling inside. It projects confidence when you may be uncertain. And that's why it unnerves people so much. Silence is the blank mask, the one they can't read. And what they can't read, they fear. The second challenge. So here is your second challenge. Craft your masks deliberately. In your career, decide what version of you earns respect, and wear that mask in every meeting. In your relationships, decide what version of you commands loyalty, and wear that mask when tested. Online, decide what version of you draws influence, and wear that mask consistently. Not to lie, not to deceive, but to control perception. Because perception, as Machiavelli taught, often matters more than truth. Mini hook for part 3. But masks alone are not enough, because behind every mask must be something stronger. Focus. Because what good is a mask if you're distracted, scattered, and pulled apart by every little temptation? That's the next Machiavellian secret. The fortress of focus and the cold freedom of detachment. Focus and detachment. If silence is your first weapon and masks are your armor, then focus is your fortress. Because no matter how strong your mask, no matter how sharp your silence, you'll fall if you're distracted, and nothing destroys the ambitious faster than distraction. The age of noise. We live in the noisiest age in history. Notifications, gossip, politics, drama, endless entertainment, all designed to fracture your attention. And here's the dark truth. The more distracted you are, the weaker you become. Why? Because distraction keeps you predictable. If you're chasing every trend, your rivals always know where you'll go next. If you're addicted to approval, your enemies can lure you with praise. If you're obsessed with proving yourself, manipulators can trap you in endless battles you never needed to fight. Machiavelli warned against rulers who tried to please everyone. He said, "A prince who seeks to satisfy all will end in ruin." And it's not just princes, it's you, me, everyone. Try to please all voices and you'll end up pleasing none. The fortress of focus. So what is focus? Focus is the discipline to guard your mental fortress against invaders. It's knowing exactly what matters to your power and refusing to waste energy on what doesn't. Imagine your life as a castle. Every time you get pulled into petty drama, you lower the gates. Every time you argue just to prove yourself right, you open the walls. Every time you scatter your attention, you weaken your defenses. But when you protect your focus, when you decide what deserves your attention and what doesn't, your castle becomes unbreachable. Modern application of focus. In business, focus means working on long-term strategy, not chasing every distraction your competitors throw at you. In relationships, focus means not reacting to every emotional test, but keeping your eye on the bigger truth. Respect is more important than constant harmony. In personal growth, focus means building skills quietly while others burn themselves out on shallow validation. Ask yourself, how many of your daily battles are truly yours, and how many are traps set by others? The power of detachment. But focus alone isn't enough, because even the most focused ruler can be destroyed if he's chained to his emotions. That's where detachment comes in. Detachment is the cold truth that you must never need anything so badly that it can be used against you. If you're desperate for love, you'll tolerate disrespect. If you're desperate for money, you'll accept humiliation. If you're desperate for approval, you'll sacrifice your power to get it. Machiavelli knew this. He advised rulers to avoid dependence at all costs, to build strength not on fragile alliances, but on foundations they alone controlled. Why detachment scares people? Detachment terrifies manipulators because it removes their leverage. Think about it. The manipulator's weapon is always the same: the threat of loss. If you don't obey, you'll lose me. If you don't comply, you'll lose this opportunity. If you resist, you'll lose your reputation. But when you are detached, when you have trained yourself to walk away from anything that doesn't serve your power, the threat of loss loses its teeth. The one who doesn't cling can never be held hostage. Historical proof. Look at Stoic leaders like Marcus Aurelius, who held the most powerful throne in the world, but reminded himself daily, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. That was detachment. Not weakness, but strength. The strength to face life without chains, to rule without being ruled by fear of loss. And Machiavelli would have agreed, because the ruler who cannot detach is not truly ruling. He is being ruled by his own attachments. Everyday examples. In toxic relationships, detachment means refusing to beg when someone threatens to leave. Instead, you calmly say, if you want to go, go. Suddenly, the power shifts. In negotiations, detachment means being willing to walk away. The one who needs the deal less always wins the deal more. In friendships, detachment means not clinging to those who undermine you. You invest where loyalty exists, not where disrespect thrives. Detach, and suddenly you are the one with options. And the person with options is always the one in control. The third challenge. So here is your third challenge. Practice ruthless focus and calm detachment. This week, cut out one distraction that drains your energy but adds no power. Delete it, ignore it, replace it with silence and focus. Then identify one attachment that manipulates you. Maybe a toxic person, a constant need for approval, or a fear of missing out. Consciously loosen your grip. Remind yourself, if it leaves, I remain. Do this, and you'll feel something rare, the calm authority of a person who cannot be baited, cannot be controlled, cannot be cornered. Mini hook for part 4. But even focus and detachment are not enough. Because there are moments when silence must break, masks must fall, and detachment must strike. That's when you unleash the sharpest edge of Machiavellian power, controlled aggression, the force that earns respect, the presence that inspires fear. Fear, respect, and controlled aggression. Machiavelli posed one of history's most ruthless questions. Is it better to be loved or feared? And his answer was brutally clear. If you cannot be both, it is safer to be feared. Why? Because love is fragile. Love shifts with emotion, convenience, and self-interest. But fear is stable. Fear endures. Fear keeps people in line even when affection fades. But here's the nuance most people miss. Machiavelli wasn't advising cruelty for cruelty's sake. He wasn't saying to become a tyrant who rules with violence and terror. What he really taught was the power of controlled aggression, the ability to strike with precision, not passion. The danger of being too kind. Let's start with the opposite. What happens when you're too kind? Too forgiving? Too soft? At first, people praise you. They say you're noble, generous, compassionate. But soon, they learn the truth. You will bend. You will give. You will yield. And once they know this, your kindness becomes a weapon against you. In business, you're taken advantage of because they know you won't fight back. In relationships, you're manipulated because they know you'll always forgive. In politics or leadership, you're ignored because they know you won't enforce consequences. Kindness without boundaries breeds contempt. The case for fear. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine a leader, a partner, a boss who never punishes betrayal, who never pushes back against disrespect. People may love them, but that love is weak. It disappears the moment it's inconvenient. Machiavelli warned rulers never to rely on love alone, because loyalty built on affection evaporates under pressure, but loyalty built on fear, the fear of consequences, holds firm. The parent who never disciplines raises a reckless child. The leader who never enforces rules invites chaos. The person who never sets boundaries is trampled by everyone around them. Fear commands respect, and respect outlasts affection. Controlled aggression versus blind rage. But here's where Machiavelli was wise. He didn't glorify reckless violence. He despised leaders who acted out of uncontrolled anger. Because blind rage doesn't inspire fear, it inspires rebellion. Controlled aggression is different. It is cold, calculated, rarely used, but unforgettable when unleashed. The boss who normally stays calm, but once cuts down betrayal with decisive action. The friend who rarely raises their voice, but when they finally do, everyone goes silent. The partner who tolerates much, but when pushed too far, walks away without hesitation. These acts are not explosions of temper. They are demonstrations of power. Historical proof. Look at Cesare Borgia, the man Machiavelli admired most. When Borgia conquered new territories, he first allowed chaos to spread, then executed the man responsible for cruelty in one dramatic spectacle. The people were shocked into obedience. He was feared, but not hated. That's the essence of controlled aggression, a single sharp strike that establishes order, followed by restraint. Not constant cruelty, not endless violence. One act of decisive force that echoes for years. Modern applications. In the workplace, controlled aggression might mean calmly but firmly calling out sabotage in front of the entire team. Not yelling, not ranting, just cold exposure of the truth. In relationships, it might mean walking away from manipulation once, without debate, without begging, without returning. That single act sets a boundary stronger than 1,000 arguments. In negotiations, it might mean refusing an unfair offer with silence, then ending the conversation. Not because you lost control, but because you controlled the only move that mattered. Respect over popularity. This is the hard truth most people can't swallow. Being liked is overrated. Being respected is survival. The popular boss who tries to be everyone's friend is ignored. The popular partner who tries to please every demand is used. The popular politician who avoids conflict is crushed. Respect may not always bring smiles, but it brings stability. And stability is the foundation of power. Ask yourself, do you want to be remembered as someone everyone liked, or as someone no one dared to cross? The balance of fear and love. Of course, the ideal is both, to be loved and feared. But as Machiavelli said, that balance is rare. So when forced to choose, lean toward fear. not cruelty, not tyranny, controlled aggression, strategic fear, enough to make betrayal unthinkable, but not enough to make rebellion inevitable. Think of it like fire. A small, controlled flame warms and protects. An out-of-control blaze burns everything, including you. The fourth challenge. So here is your fourth challenge. Identify one area of your life where you've been too soft, too forgiving, too eager to be liked. Now, plan one act of controlled aggression, not rage, not cruelty. Just one decisive action that sets a boundary and commands respect. It might be confronting a colleague, cutting off a toxic friend, or simply saying no where you once always said yes. Do it once with calm and clarity, and watch how people begin to treat you differently. Mini hook for part 5. Because fear and respect secure your position in the present. But what about the future? The final Machiavellian layer is legacy, the throne inside you that no one can ever take away. And that's what we'll uncover next. Legacy and transformation. Fear and respect may secure your present, but Machiavelli understood something deeper. The ultimate power is not in your position, not in your mask, not even in your silence. The ultimate power is in the legacy you build, the authority that no one can strip from you, because thrones can be stolen, wealth can be seized, followers can abandon you. But inner authority, the discipline, focus, and cunning you cultivate within yourself outlives every temporary loss. The illusion of external power. Most people chase power in fragile forms: a title, a salary, a relationship, a reputation. But all of these are vulnerable. Lose your job, and the title vanishes. Lose your lover, and the relationship collapses. Lose public opinion, and your reputation crumbles. Machiavelli saw countless princes rise and fall because their power was borrowed, not built. They relied on allies, mercenaries, or the love of the people. And the moment those pillars collapsed, so did their rule. The ruler who survives, he wrote, is the one who stands on foundations no enemy can shake. The throne within. So what is the unshakable foundation today? It is the throne you build within yourself. When you master silence, you cannot be baited. When you master masks, you cannot be read. When you master focus, you cannot be distracted. When you master detachment, you cannot be held hostage. When you master controlled aggression, you cannot be disrespected. Together, these make you untouchable. You may lose money, you may lose status, you may lose people, but you never lose yourself. And that is the throne no one can overthrow. The shadow and the flame. Machiavelli admired rulers who could be both shadow and flame. The shadow, mysterious, unreadable, unpredictable. The flame, decisive, commanding, unforgettable. Most people fail because they live only as one. Some are shadows, but too passive to strike. Others are flames, but too reckless to endure. But combine both, and you create something rare, a presence that commands fear and respect without ever needing to shout. Modern proof. Think about the leaders who truly shaped history. Not just rulers, but innovators, creators, disruptors. Steve Jobs was the shadow, keeping his vision hidden until the right moment, then the flame, releasing it with explosive impact. Winston Churchill was the shadow in strategy, the flame in speech. Even in personal life, those who endure heartbreak, betrayal, or failure and rise stronger are those who mastered both shadow and flame. The world remembers those who remain unreadable until the moment they burn unforgettable. Your legacy. But here's the truth. Legacy isn't built later. It's built now. Every silence you hold, every mask you wear, every boundary you set, all of it compounds into the reputation that will follow you long after the moment is gone. Machiavelli believed fortune was like a river, wild, unpredictable, capable of destruction. But he also believed the wise could build dams, channels, and fortresses to harness it. Legacy is the dam you build against time. The question is, what are you building? The fifth challenge. So here is your final challenge. Decide what legacy of power you want to leave behind. Do you want to be remembered as someone who begged for approval or someone who commanded respect? Do you want to be remembered as someone who revealed everything or someone whose mystery left others in awe? Do you want to be remembered as someone who lived chained by others' control or someone who quietly bent the game in their favor? The choice is yours. But the choice must be made now, in every decision, every silence, every strike. A final question. So tell me, do you believe Machiavelli was right? Is ruthless clarity the only way to survive? Or do you believe he went too far? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Debate, argue. Test yourself against the wisdom of one of history's most feared thinkers. The community of the ruthless. This channel is not for the naive. It's not for those who want comforting lies. It's for those who dare to see the world as it is, not as they wish it to be. So if you are ready to keep sharpening your mind, subscribe to Ruthless Psychology. Join a community that doesn't beg for truth. It seizes it. A community that doesn't flinch at darkness. It thrives in it. Because every day you walk through this world, you are in the unseen war. And now you carry the weapons Machiavelli handed down through centuries. Silence, masks, focus, detachment, controlled aggression, respect, legacy. These are no longer just ideas. They are yours. The closing image. So the next time someone tries to manipulate you, imagine yourself sitting on that inner throne, calm, silent, watching. Let them scheme, let them rage, let them beg. Because you already know the game belongs to the one who sees without being seen, who moves without being predicted, who commands without begging. That is the Machiavellian path. And now it is your path.